Thursday morning recording. This is 2 weeks in a row now where we have not done our usual scheduled record time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You all did Tuesday last week?
We did Tuesday last week. So we missed the vote, which we'll be talking about today.
Surprise, surprise. That's what we're talking about today.
So we got to guess what it was going to be, in City Council when they were voting on, if Sac PD should have a tank. Boy, were we off.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah. And then, well, now this week it's Thursday morning. It's your and my birthday month. It was your birthday yesterday. Happy birthday.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
And so everyone was doing things that day. I was picking up a friend from SFO and we just couldn't do the show. But then this op-ed comes out and we're like, well, fuck. We can't not do a show this week,
Yeah. I read the op-ed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I spent my birthday sitting on my bed reading all day until I had plans at like 3:00. And one of the things I read was the op-ed, and I was just like, motherfucker, like this is there's so much to say about this, and I really did not want my brain to have to work too hard on this vacation, but fuck, this is awful.
Well, let's I think we get to it. I want you to enjoy the rest of your vacation. I have a very lazy work day and then a hang with someone after. So let's just get to it.
Hang with someone.
And let's not talk about it.
That's fine.
I don't know if she listens. Yeah.
Oh, she listens.
Oh. All right. All right. Let's start the show.
Okay.
Voices, things we say, voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Hello, everyone. You have Kempa
and Shannon,
and that's it. Just us. Just the birthday.
Can you believe
the birthday duo? Pretty excited.
Fuck yeah.
Couple Aquarians just being aloof.
I thought you were gonna say a couple of queers.
Couple of queers.
I was like,
if only I'm not that cool. I'm just an Aquarius.
Aquarians are the best of the astrological chart.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I clearly know my shit.
I had a girlfriend in New York who did she had a book that would mix your astrological sign with the Chinese year you were born. And it would like meld and then it'd like read you your personality. And mine was Year of the Rat in Aquarius. And it just was like total God complex narcissist, which
sick.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like a thing about Aquarians, like if you experienced a lot of like nurturing as a child, you are a very confident person. And if you didn't, you are a more quiet rebel or something.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, someone is going to be listening to this shit and they're like screaming at the wall saying like, Shannon, you dumb bitch. That is not what Aquarius. I feel like it's something like that. Holler at me on Twitter if I'm wrong.
I think it's gonna be perfect. We're a couple of just self-assured pricks going at it today.
Yeah, we're just like, listen, this is how everything is wrong and we are right.
We know everything. Well, let's just get to it. Folks, it's not gonna be like a full episode. We just wanted to discuss this issue that happened today, or well, this week, and continues to happen.
It won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
And the issue being that, as we covered last week, Sacramento City Council voted to give Sac PD a tank called a Rook. Well, why don't I just bring it back? Let me do the full timeline.
Yeah, I love a timeline.
Back in October, we had a somewhat different city council, right? We have 3 new faces now, but it was ostensibly more conservative than the one we have today. They did a vote because of a recent California law. Anytime a police department is set to get military equipment, it has to go in front of the people. So they did a vote to see if, you know, they were going to let them file for a grant to the feds to get this, you know, this tank. And they voted yes, 7-2. The two real ones on city council who voted against militarizing the police were District 4 Representative or Councilmember Caity Valenzuela and Mai Vang. Now, is Mai Vang 8?
Yeah.
District 8, Mai Vang. Thank you again and again for actually like doing the right thing.
Heard
that no one up there on that dais seems to be able to do. So that vote goes through. It didn't really surprise anyone, but there was, you know, the general community did come out in force and show and say how much they didn't want this to happen. Fast forward a few months to February of 2023, somewhat new council, 3 new members on this 9-person dais. One of them being Karina Talamantes, who definitely took cop money during her campaign. Another one being District 1. I always forget her name.
Lisa Kaplan?
Lisa Kaplan. And then District 5, of course, Caity Maple. Kaplan as well took cop money. Caity did not take cop money. She ran on a demilitarize the police platform, and progressives were somewhat excited about her. And so this vote comes about to, you know, they finally got the grant funding. They had to do a vote again to say, like, will we accept this tank from the feds? And they do the vote. Highly anticipated. Folks thought that at least Caity Maple would vote against it alongside Valenzuela and Mai Vang. And what happened?
She voted for the tank. I wrote that song about it.
That's a good song. Wow.
Thank you so much. You know, like in my vacation, I've had a lot of time to be creative.
Voted for the tank. She voted for the tank. So again, you know, all this talk about a progressive new city council, right? Lady bosses, right? It's a women majority city council, but still 7-2 vote. Caity and Mai being the only real ones up there.
And also voted for a tank in such a way, like, I think one of the most frustrating parts of watching that meeting was the way that Caity Maple being one of them, council members were asking questions to sort of like define their way around what they were doing, right? It's like
leading questions.
Totally. Yeah. Like, you know, is the Rook going to be used to sweep homeless encampments? And is, you know, all of this, obviously they were hearing the buzz in the community.
Yeah. And also the cops are liars. When have they not fucking lied about this stuff? So I mean, asking them this, like, who gives a fuck?
The number of questions that the cops were able to, I mean, the cops were able to offer a presentation. They
gave like a 25-minute presentation, like 4 different cops up there, you know, doing
and
their
like
bullshit.
So much time to answer all of these questions that were all like the questions. There were certainly well thought out questions that came from some council members, but by and large, they were just a bunch of fucking bullshit ass questions to make the council members feel better about what they were already set to do. Like, why waste everybody's time asking the questions if you already knew none of that shit was going to change any of their fucking minds? They were just they were posturing. It's a bunch of, it is so disgusting.
Yeah.
And certainly even more disgusting that a council member that ran on a platform that was no cop money and has a lengthy tweet about being anti the militarization of the police department, then was like, here is a military grade vehicle.
Oh God. What did she call it in her later op-ed? We'll get to the op-ed later, but what she called it, not a tank. She's like, of course it's not a tank.
No, she was like, it's a Tesla. No, I don't remember.
It's a tractor or something.
It's
yeah.
Something. It's like a tractor with a claw, and it's designed to protect cops.
It's gonna be less than lethal. So I was talking to a friend too that this meeting really, to me, outlined some of the real structural problems to how our city council meetings are run,
Yeah.
protocol issues. When you have 200 public comments resoundingly saying, do not get this tank, the community has come out. The community has said, fuck you, no. And the community does not have a chance to give a presentation of their own, right? Like,
Yeah.
why don't we have public health professionals like Dr. Flo and, others coming up and saying, here's why this is harmful. Here's why you can't do it. Here's our 20-minute presentation. Let's do a Q&A with us as well and see where this fucking conversation goes. No, this was all propaganda front to back. So, and I was talking to my friend who sits on the sheriff's oversight committee, and he was telling me, like, the state capitol does it better than city council. If they see a swell of opposition, they will go to the opposition people and say, hey, we see that there's some interest, a larger interest than normal in folks wanting to stop this bill. Why don't you give a presentation of equal amount of time to our legislators so that they can get sort of a rounded view of this? City council doesn't do it. This was a fucking rubber stamp.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. First, I don't know. I was gonna say, first of all, they don't give a shit, and I stand by the statement that they don't give a shit. Well, many of them don't give a shit. I guess I think that the way that city government works, or the way that we've seen it work here in Sacramento, is to do everything they can to get around really giving the community a voice, or giving the community an audience, which is why people have to show up in large groups of people and use volume and mass in order to get their messaging across, because the alternative is that you just have a bunch of cops afforded as much time as they could possibly desire, and the community is then struggling to get in the queue for a phone call, or be called up appropriately for public comment, or even I kept trying to submit my public comment on the website and it kept crashing, and and if that is not an indicator that like there's some shit's going down that the city should pay attention to, because it can't even withstand the number of people who are coming to the site to give their public comment, there's like that's a whole thing. But yeah, when
we get to the backlash too, like the following week, like there is no reason there's no reason they should be surprised by that, because of everything you just said.
Oh yeah, and also like, okay, so for context,
well, I was saying we'll get to that, but like,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
No,
so
yes, you're right. There is no reason that they should be surprised by it, and there's no reason that they should, like, I would go.
You're gonna get shut down.
Yeah. They shouldn't be offended by it either. Like, you didn't do your fucking jobs, dude. Like, if workers, if we don't do our jobs, then there are consequences to that. And the consequence to elected officials not doing their jobs is that people are going to show up. They're going to show up, and they're going to make it harder for you to just skate by this thing that you ignored. It's just
and the more you ignore them, the hotter it's going to get. This doesn't go away. This never goes away. Not.
Especially in like the landscape of the city of Sacramento, not giving audience to people and not validating people's concerns. This has gone on for far too long. People are fucking tired. They're tired of not being heard and tired of being terrorized. It is an absolutely,
and this is people's lives on the line. They're fighting for their fucking lives.
And it's
as
a normal
a Twitter
response.
friend said. Yeah. And so when you have these,
sorry, we're both fucking heated.
Yeah, you go first.
I think it is an absolutely normal response to an abnormal situation, and the abnormal situation being where people are not valued and people are not being heard. It like, in the same way that you like when a child is upset, they become louder and louder in order to like try to take up the space so they can be heard. Like that is just that's what's happening. This isn't surprising. It's just a natural consequence to being terrible fucking city leaders.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, you know, that vote happens. People are outraged, naturally, as you should be. Now, they're angry, you know, that Talamantes and Kaplan voted the way they did, but they weren't surprised, right?
No.
The real
absolutely not.
surprise with folks came at Caity Maple, right, of District 5. You know, in 2021, she did a whole Twitter thread about how it's time to demilitarize Sac PD. We can't keep doing this. It's harmful to the community. And then she goes and votes for this fucking tank, right? So
Sure did.
the backlash is strong on the socials elsewhere, you know. People make their voice heard, and the Maple house, the Maple office kind of shuts down. They really batten down the hatches, right?
The House of Maple
House of Maple
boarded up the windows and the doors and said, "We are very scared."
Covered their ears. La la
Yeah.
la. And then I think the one thing she did do after a day or two was she did another Twitter thread, right?
Can we talk about how dumb that was?
Yeah, let's discuss this Twitter thread. You know, she came out and said on last night's city council vote, a thread, at last night's meeting, the Sacramento City Council voted 7-2 to approve the acquisition of a Rook vehicle that would be purchased using grant funds and shared as a cooperative with other jurisdictions. Nice leftist language, cooperative. I know this discussion was difficult for many community members, and I want to thank everyone who showed up, wrote in, and called to share their perspectives. I know that I could and should have done better outreach to the community leading up to this, and for that, I'm sorry. So we got an apology, I guess, for her not talking to her constituents.
Yeah, it's honestly, the apology could be there or not. Like, to me, it's just like it's dug so deep in the message of, listen, I am the person that has been elected into this office and I know how to do this job. And like, you all just don't get it.
Yeah.
You don't understand the funding, and you don't understand that the Rook is not what you think it is. And the whole, like, that line about
paternalism or maternalism.
100%. The whole, like, I know this discussion was difficult for many community members, and I want to thank everyone that showed up. Like, fuck, that is it's disgusting, because first of all, you don't know how difficult that discussion was for many community members. You will never know, and you can never know, because you are a white woman.
And a white woman living in a historically Black community, representing a historically Black community. And this is how you fucking voted.
And a community that, like, you don't have to do fucking outreach on this shit, man. You knocked on how many fucking doors where people told you what the hell they wanted.
Yep.
Like, you knew from the start, you knew that this wasn't going to fly, and you still did it because you're in Ashby's pocket.
I mean, in Ashby's pocket. She also is she's always been a political insider, right? And these folks just sit, you know, like as head of the Central Labor Council, and, you know, they all sit together and have their own language, calling things nothing burgers and whatever. Like they are so removed from regular people in this city that this is sort of a natural response, right?
Yeah.
So let me keep reading a little bit.
Oh,
I voted in
support
better of this item after reviewing all of the information provided, and did so because I believed this tool, Caity, you can say tank, will help both the community and law enforcement stay safe.
Gross.
Oh my God. I also acknowledge and understand. By the way, folks, this is a tank. It's a tank. Like, no, there's not like a fucking, like, you know, gun at the end of it, but there are turrets in it for police officers to steady their automatic weapons as they aim them at people in the second story of their home.
It's equipped to hold 4 armed officers. Is that right?
I think so. Maybe, I don't know, maybe more.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And so again, this tool, you can name another tool. You're a tool. Okay. So
I also acknowledge and
I
understand.
also acknowledge and understand that some residents do not agree and feel hurt by this decision, particularly in Black and Brown communities that have been historically over-policed. It was my responsibility to do proactive outreach, and I failed.
Gross.
But this does imply that, like, now she's saying, like, well, maybe I would have voted differently, right? Our team will be scheduling a town hall to get input from residents on the use of law enforcement equipment so that I can be better prepared to take action on similar issues in the future. I don't think we need to keep reading it.
No, it's
because then she just doubles down and is like, well, I don't want to militarize the police. Well, fuck. Okay.
Guess what you just did. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. It sucks because like if you go back and read her campaign materials, you will read about a candidate who firmly stood in the space of understanding the terror that Black and Brown communities experience at the hand of law enforcement. And there was a very intentional effort to resist the money that law enforcement wants to give, right? They want to empty their pocketbooks for candidates because they want them to
do their bidding,
vote the way that Caity Maple voted.
Right.
So, I mean, I think really what a public statement like this does is it shows us that she lied. It shows us that, District 5 got taken again, by somebody who says they were going to do something that they're just not prepared to do. Right. Like, and I think the other thing that it does is that it really centers this like white leadership, right? Like it doesn't, because you don't even find this like fake ass apology and the acknowledging and understanding statement that is so patronizing. I acknowledge and understand that some residents do not agree and feel hurt by this decision, particularly in Black and Brown communities that have been historically over policed. The fucking community that you represent. Like,
right.
I don't know. I think she really just dug herself in deeper. And I suspect that she's not the person who sat down and like wrote this word for word. But she certainly had to approve it. And that really says something about her. It says something about the way that she thinks and the framework that she is using to lead from that dais. And I think this is going to be a really hard thing for her to come back from.
Yeah, I do too. And speaking of her staff, like, her chief of staff is this guy named Ryan Brown. Went to Sac State, and you might not know this, but Ryan is the former head of college Republicans at Sac State. He ran
Republican.
He ran for the assembly as a Republican against Kevin McCarty in 2016 on a platform of fiscal responsibility and, wait for it, folks, public safety. So it does make you wonder where some of this is coming from, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we got to stay fucking mad, but also Caity Maple is clearly offering us, or she has clearly offered us 2 pieces of writing that say it does like, hey, thanks for your vote, but I've got the power now and you don't really matter.
Yeah, basically. So let's move to that. Yeah. So a couple days after this statement, Maple's office, it's just radio silence, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To my understanding,
except that she was at an event at Wellspring Women's Center honoring Angelique Ashby as a really cool her. Democrat.
Well, we didn't even bring in the Tyree Nichols part of this either.
Oh man, that was the shit that.
Yeah, this young man killed by police, militarized police out in Tennessee. This happened just before, the week before this vote. Caity went to the vigil for him because he used to live in Sacramento. He loved Sacramento. and she went and, like posted on her socials and like, kind of gained her social capital for doing that, turned around the next fucking day and did this vote. So following the vote, the week following it, she basically radio silence.
Right.
No talking to the community like she said she would. And by the way, this town hall, I haven't seen it scheduled. I don't know about you.
I haven't seen it scheduled. I think she realized that it was just going to be a space where she's going to get chewed out. So
yeah, she's going to hear what she deserves to hear. Right.
Yeah.
So a few days later, and unbeknownst to any of us, I believe, Flo published an op-ed. I was deeply hurt that she didn't send it to me to read over. That this has never happened to me before. But she wrote just a really incredible,
oh my gosh,
really personal piece. Can you talk a little bit about what was in that?
Yeah. So I read she sent it to our thread and I read it immediately, and I was away for my birthday. So it's titled "Sacramento Seemed Poised to Reform Its Troubled Police Department, and It Didn't Happen." And this is, Flo is somebody who has written opinion pieces for the Bee plenty of times, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's an epidemiologist. She's policy director for public health advocates.
Chair of the Measure U committee, or was the chair of the Measure U committee.
Yeah, she is a well-respected community leader.
Yeah. So, I was expecting to read something great, obviously, because Flo wrote it, and I was like, oh shit, she's about to take down city council, and she did. She really did. She talked about the tank and, militarized vehicles being deployed by police departments being a cause of trauma. But she actually very quickly then went into her own personal experience. And she shared about a lockdown that took place for about 24 hours in her neighborhood last summer. And it was, I remember when this happened because we were all checking in on Flo. Just asking how she was doing and what was going on, and did she need anything and all of that. And then, so in this piece, you go on to read that, militarized police vehicles rolled into her neighborhood and, flash grenades were deployed and there were just cops everywhere. And the result of that really traumatic, chaotic situation was that it was a triggering event for her. She then experienced PTSD symptoms and she took a lengthy leave of absence from work and had to get mental health support, including taking medication for anxiety. And the point of all of this was to say that this tank didn't make her or the people in her community feel any safer. It actually made them feel threatened and scared, and it really drove in the mistrust that exists in communities of color, or between communities of color and the police department. And she went on to give more context around bringing in Stephon Clark and sort of what that did to community relation or community ideas around law enforcement, and talked about George Floyd and all of that, and talked about Tyre Nichols, and it's a really great piece. But at the end of it, the thing that she said was, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. 1 week after the death of Tyre Nichols, the city council should have rejected the purchase of the Rook, and explored other options to get grant money for better solutions. Reimagining public safety doesn't look like gearing up for a war. And that, call me biased because we love Flo, but that is that statement. There's so much truth in that statement. It's lazy to continue to vote for these military vehicles and for higher police budgets. It's lazy and it's harmful. There are better solutions, and public safety does not look like gearing up for war, but that is what this community has done. And that is also what Caity Maple has defended in her statement just before this op-ed was published, and in the absolutely trash op-ed that she publishes following this.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
we will get to.
And I mean, I think the only thing to follow up there, and also it was in April, it wasn't last summer, so it was a little before that, but yeah, I mean, we saw the human effect that it had on Flo, and I was thinking about that as Sac PD was talking about how often they used a rook the last few years, because they already have access to one. They don't need another one. The county sheriff's department has it, and they will give it whenever they need it. So the city has used it 19 times since like 2018, I think it was, or something. That's what, 3 to 4 times a year. 3 to 4 times a year that our community was traumatized by that. There's an entire block of flows dealing with that, right? And more. What did they say? How often they would use it once they have their own? 20 times a year. So now this is up to almost twice a month that they want to use this, that they want to traumatize the people of Sacramento even further. And this is what we're talking about. This is what Caity voted for.
Yeah, and even after listening to public comment, and even after reading, an op-ed, I have to imagine that she read Flo's op-ed.
Oh, 100%. She also read the Bee editorial board came out, and as did, 2 of their opinion writers on their own, just saying like,
right,
you're a liar and this was wrong, and you bought it, you voted for a tank, right?
Yeah. And she's still, it's the inability to recognize that she is wrong, that her vote was trash, and it goes completely against everything that she said that she stood for. And even more than that, she is then saying that the community is wrong, that we don't understand. And that is like, talk about doubling down. Like,
yeah. So
it's gross.
Let's talk about this op-ed that she wrote. There was actually a little apology. There was a promise, in that Twitter thread to go out and speak to the community. But then she came out with this op-ed on Wednesday, February 8th, that sort of just, as Hannah Holzer at the Bee said, did a complete 180, right?
Yeah.
She had said that she failed to do proactive outreach in her communities of color. Now, I'm quoting Hannah, she appears to do a total 180, calling the vehicle a tractor, that's what it was, and painting herself as the victim of online bullying. This is the tack she takes.
Yeah, this this op-ed, the first line of it is, did the Sacramento City Council really vote for a tank? The answer is no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
It definitely voted for a tank.
The gaslighting returns really like up to 100 at this point.
So
go ahead.
One of the things that I was thinking after I read that op-ed was, wow, Caity is really lucky that Robin Epley at the Sac Bee has COVID right now, and that's all over her Twitter,
right?
Robin's Twitter, because I think she would have a lot of things to say about this op-ed. And Robin, in like I love this tweet.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Yesterday tweeted the little eyeball emoji with the definition of a tank, which is a heavy armored fighting vehicle carrying guns and moving on a continuous articulated metal track. And right next to that image is an image of the rook, which is exactly that. So
with 4 heavily armed
yeah.
cops on it, pointing
So good.
their weapons very aggressively, right? Like, yeah,
It's
great,
just so
great
good.
fucking I don't know what kind of tractors you had where you grew up, Katie, but they don't look like that.
No, I grew up in North Long Beach, and those are called tanks because we
Yeah,
saw them rolling around our neighborhood.
we had tractors in rural Wisconsin. They didn't look like that. So in this
Oh
piece, she
gosh.
basically, I guess we got to tell folks what she said, but she basically said, you know, everyone's saying I bought it, I voted to buy a tank. I didn't. It's not a tank. It's a
It's not a tank.
tractor. It's a tool. Um, she claims that it is used to de-escalate situations, like make it less likely that folks will die, which is absurd.
Mhm.
And after defending it, so she goes on to say, after the January 31st vote to approve the Rook is when online harassment and bullying began.
Mm.
So, I don't see any specifics in here on like harassment or bullying. She's claiming people said certain things, right?
Yeah.
And that her staff
That
was targeted. What did she claim?
she said that a group of people sent online messages and to her and her family members, and she refused to repeat those messages in print. That her address was posted online, that there were threats to burn down her house, that her staff was harassed to the point where phones were no longer answered and notifications on social media were turned off.
Phones no longer answered. Listen to that part, folks. Like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
sick.
the council member's office saying, we will not listen to you. We will not talk with you.
Also, here's the deal. Like, online bullying, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other conversation.
Right.
But as an elected official, your address is public information.
No, it's not.
Well,
Not only
well,
that, the county hides your address if you're an elected official.
oh, I thought I thought addresses were public information, but you're
Mm-mm.
right, because we have, yeah, okay. Anyway, as an elected official, Caity Maple's address was public information because she hosted a fridge at her house, a
Yeah,
community
everyone knows where
fridge
it is. You
that
can
she,
go fill the fridge up for unhoused folks over there. Yeah.
yeah, you can't anymore because it's no longer, the fridge broke and it was a whole
Well,
thing. But she was posting that online with her address. Like,
yeah.
her address is not a
It's no secret.
mystery.
It's not
It's
like, it's certainly not like Sean Laloe's address. Like, people knew
oh
where
right,
Katie
you're right.
lived because she was doing this public thing. Right.
Right. And I mean, I think the other thing about this is, like, of course people are going to send you messages. They're fucking pissed off. You said that you were going to do a thing that you did not do. Like, and this isn't like saying that you're going to buy a community cheeseburgers after school. Like, you said that you were not for the militarization of police, and you represent a community that has been terrorized by militarized police. They're fucking pissed, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna get angry messages. And does it suck? Sure. Like,
But also represent your constituents then, right? Like, people
yeah.
are, and like, people are going to start shutting things down. They literally, frustrated folks came out the following week to the city council meeting and they shut the fucking meeting down.
Yeah.
And again, it's only going to get hotter. It's only going to get
Right.
hotter if you continue to ignore your constituents.
Yeah.
And that's not a threat or anything. That's just the natural fucking
No,
progression.
it's just how it goes, and it's happened time and time again. And so why is it surprising? Like, when you go into a meet, like, I cannot imagine that she sat down at that dais and was like, I don't know if I'm gonna vote yes or no, like, and that all of those questions and like listening to all the fucking bullshit from the cops actually had any impact on her. Like, her decision was made when she sat down.
Mhm.
And you have to know,
She
and
had her
especially
questions written out to make herself sound good.
all
Like,
of
yeah,
that,
all of
yeah.
that.
And you have to know that when you're making the choice that she did, that they're, like, that this is the shit that happens because we've watched it happen over and over again. We've watched elected officials make fucked up, disappointing ass decisions and play their votes the wrong way, and then the community gets pissed. I mean, especially in these situations where there's trauma.
Yep.
And there's more trauma and more harm. And now she's mad about that. And so what is it that's happening is it's the white woman tears and the I'm the victim, and also you're all wrong. You know, that the part of the op-ed where she says, a tank is a vehicle with attached weapons that's used in war. A rook is a tractor with a shield used in very specific and dangerous situations.
Just
the
incredible.
Truth matters.
Incredible.
She also has like completely changed this narrative where she now is like, you know, I think we live in a time where this like violence is happening and we got to support the cops, like, because we've got to keep them safe, you know? Yeah. And it's like, but you are on record saying that you do not believe in the militarization of the police department.
And they already have a fucking rook.
What?
You know, the interesting to me as well that in her paragraph of talking about all the harassment, you know, she lumps in with it the Bee's column.
Right.
Called her out. So that's a part of the harassment for
right.
Caity, which I thought was very telling and curious.
I don't know. I think, Caity, the truth matters, and the rook is a tank, and the Bee is just told you that.
Yeah, and your rhetorical obfuscating here, it's just like you've already lost. You've already lost the conversation. Like, it is open and shut that this is a piece of military equipment. That's why it had to go in front of city council. It's a fucking tank.
Right.
So
I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it's also frustrating to me, disappointing, all of the things that at the end of this, she's still standing by this, like, I was elected to represent this community, and I'm going to have to make difficult choices, and we're not always going to agree, but we've got to do this important work, and we've got to get along and do it together. And it's like,
she's not a class warrior, or she is a class warrior, but for her Politico consulting class. She is not the working person's warrior.
No, not. And I think it's just, you know, she's just making it very clear in these two pieces of writing the public statement and this op-ed that she ain't ready. And that's
I'm willing to be wrong on this. I'm willing. I would love
please.
to be wrong. Yeah. I just have two kind of thoughts in reflection of this. You know, obviously people were very mad with this piece as well. I've got two thoughts. One is regarding the folks the real ones that went out there and they shut shit down last Tuesday at City Hall. I just want to say thank you to all of them. They put themselves probably in harm's way. There could have been arrests that day. We know how Sac PD treats people. I've during protests, you know, they have literally caused brain damage on folks here in this town. And you went out there and represented folks, and you showed the city that it's not okay what they did. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we continue to see that the community of people who are what is it that the activists, because that's the bad word.
Right.
The activists, the people who are actually here to stand for the community, right? For community solutions, for community thriving, are like down to do the work. And it's a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't in there. So.
Yeah, I was not either. And then moving forward, it's like, to me, it's just like what to expect. Expect more of this. Like I don't understand how you can keep doing the same shit and expect a different result. People are not feeling heard.
Yeah.
So you're going to have your town hall or not? You're going to go out and talk to people or not?
I think the other thing that is going to happen from this is probably already happening is that Caity Maple is she's already said she's feeling attacked and bullied and all of that. And what's going to happen is like the like Laloe and Jennings and Talamontes, like these sort of like mods, I guess, end up being like, see, we told you. We told you this is how they are.
Right. They're going to try bringing her into the fold. Yeah.
And they're going to try to bring her in. And it's going to, I think, really, we're really going to see the cards, I think, in the next little bit here, because certainly over her term, but I think as we start to see her line up with people who are more in the center of things, because it feels good, right? It feels good when people are talking shit about you to be taken care of. And those are the people who are going to pretend to give a shit about her because they need her. And I suspect that because of where she's at, based on the public statement and the op-ed, she's ready for someone to just wrap their little wing around her and make her feel good.
And if that does happen, it's again, the natural progression is it only gets hotter. Since 2018, since Stephon Clark was killed in his grandma's backyard by Sac PD, there has been just constant trauma and re-trauma in the Black and brown community in this city. And people have been saying over and over that they're fucking done. They're done with this. Generally, people's material conditions are getting worse, and we are throwing our resources to militarizing our police. People are gonna, they're already fed up. You already fucking see it. So, I mean, keep doing the mod thing, but we know what the natural progression is.
Yeah, what a time to be alive, It's I don't know. This shit is fucking exhausting.
It is. Yeah. Well, this was a cathartic birthday episode.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a nap now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's just wrap it up. Do you have any more final thoughts? I guess we kind of just did them.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I don't have any more final thoughts except that this shit is whack. Just more disappointing. You know what? My final thought is it took me a hell of fucking long time to come around to tell people to vote for Caity Maple. And what it took was a really shitty candidate in Tamiko Heim.
Right.
And holy shit, if I don't regret the Caity Maple push.
Just how many of us feel bamboozled? I've had friends tell me that they left the Democratic Party because of this.
I mean, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
The Democrats don't give a shit anyway, but.
And will there be any repercussions? Will the Democrats talk to her about her fucking lying, going back on her campaign promises? I guess that's yet to be seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just where we are. And I'm interested to see what the next chapter in the city is.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for it.
Folks, we love what we do. If you love what we do, go on down to patreon.com/voicesrivercity. Become a patron for as little as $5 a month. We do patron only episodes. We've got one, me discussing a Jacobin piece I wrote with Skylar. We've got another one, which was the first ever Voices Cinematic Universe episode. We will have our second one coming up this month. We will be reviewing Cocaine Bear at the theaters. You don't want to miss out. You do want to become a patron, and we're going to have some patron hangouts coming up this spring as well. So that's that. Shannon, we said we weren't going to go like a full hour, but we almost did.
Yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen.
Yeah, I'm proud of us. I think we covered.
We did such a good job.
We're still good. All right. Well, let's call it. Happy birthday.
Oh shit! Happy birthday to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't know you knew.
I know.
All right.
All right, y'all.
Bye, folks.
Bye bye.